Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And how are you, Courtney?
I am alive.
Good.
Good. Yeah, it's good. It's promising. I'm doing okay. I've been trying to find some new horror films for my watch, and been kind of let down lately. I watched It Follows, didn't really care for it. I watched Psycho 2 because I have no self-control and cannot get enough of the Bates family, it seems. It was the part. It's not Anthony Perkins in it, but it was just okay.
Okay.
Gonna watch Psycho 3 tonight. So
You know what movie I just watched with Dan and Doug that was like horror, but like also not.
mhm.
It was the new Marvel's Studios like Halloween special movie.
Oh yeah.
The
I have
Werewolf
seen
by Night.
Mhm.
It was phenomenal.
Oh,
It was phenomenal. Like
I
there were multiple times that I literally just go, the cinematography is so fucking epic right now. It
Ooh.
was so good.
I cannot.
If you're out of horror movies
I
to
mean,
watch.
never
I
have
mean,
horror movies.
no, but like if you're out of ideas for what horror movies to watch for the next couple weeks, that one is pretty good.
That is good to know. It's a movie, not a
Yeah.
series.
No, it's a special. Like it's not like I think it's probably maybe an hour and a half. It's definitely not like a long movie, but it's not a series. It's a movie.
I that in. I thought it was a series. So good to know.
Nope.
It's not connected to anything else in the MCU, right?
Nope. It's a Halloween special.
Oh,
And I mean,
absolutely.
and it is based on it is
The
based on a
comic.
Marvel
Right.
comic. And there are potential tie-ins that could happen elsewhere in the MCU, but it's not connected to anything that is currently.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I will be adding that to my list. And
Perfect.
I haven't been around the theater much because I've been busy, as you know. But
Hmm.
I did go to the theater yesterday. There's I don't know if you've heard of New Circle Theater. I feel like I've talked about it
Yes.
before.
Yes, I've heard of
It's
them.
like right by my bar. So
Yeah.
the cast and crew and stuff all come in there all the time, and I love them dearly.
Hmm.
Um, but they just finished a show called Maryland. Well, they kept describing it to me as Maryland in the desert, like Marilyn Monroe, but it's
Yeah.
called Secret Places. And what they do is
Oh.
they like, well, because it's not out, they do like every Monday they get together and read like unreleased, unpublished plays, and
Oh,
they figure out
cool.
which ones they want to like workshop and kind of like get known and stuff. And so I went. It was like it's like this tiny, like it's built in an old apartment on 44th Street. So it's super tiny, had like enough room for like 20 seats, and we're like right on top of the like cast essentially. It was really good. They did a great job. It was very strange. It was Marilyn Monroe in the desert with two blind people and a creepy miner.
Weird.
It was
Weird.
wackadoo for sure.
Speaking
Oh,
of weird theater, that's actually what I'm going to talk about this week.
I love it. Glad I could
So,
intro you to that.
yeah. So, you know how sometimes I just say all of the things that I think, even when
I
I
do indeed.
probably shouldn't.
Hmm. Yes.
So, I have talked about in the past that my fall play for my middle school students is a trio of Edgar Allan Poe stories.
Hmm.
And it has not been going great in terms of
Oh,
like the rehearsal. They're just like not as excited about it as I thought they would be. Apparently, like,
are they
mm,
lame?
yeah, a little
Okay.
bit. Um, and they're just like not super into it, but like also they're not really into anything this year. It's just like a weird year. So I'm like frustrated. And we're like
Mhm.
talking at rehearsal on Wednesday. And they were talking about like something about the cask of Amontillado, but they said like walking down the halls instead of walking through the catacombs. And then out loud, I just go, what if they were just like walking down the hallway at school and they shoved him in a locker instead of like the tomb? And like, because that was where my brain went. And then I
Right.
was like, why am I saying these things out loud?
Yeah.
Then Rachel just goes, wait, you might be onto something.
Good for students.
Yeah. So then 2 weeks before the play, we changed the entire entire structure and or theming of the play, because sometimes I just say the things that I think out loud. And they're now doing, instead of doing the 3 one-act plays in a row in the same stage, they're doing found space performances where they had to pick a place in the school that they could like turn into the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the audience is going to travel to them, and they're going to have to do each show 3 times, where the audience like rotates between which shows that they're in.
Interesting.
Which is how I did like my directing finals in college. So right. So the kids are still directing, they're still designing, but they have to like also like choose their locations and figure out how to like turn the school stuff into the set. And they're like suddenly like super into it. And
That's
so
very interesting.
yeah. So like they have to like figure, so like for like I'm helping the kid who's directing the Telltale Heart, and like for the part where the policemen are like coming into the house, I literally have 2 kids that were just like leaving in a closet, and then they're gonna knock on the door and just like come from the closet, and the audience is not gonna know that they're even there until they come out of the closet.
I love it.
It's
That's gonna be so fun.
it's gonna be so much fun, and I'm really excited. And that is
For you.
and it's all because I don't know how to shut up.
Well, you know, sometimes that's good. I mean, that's why you have a podcast, right?
Truly, that is why. So there's that. So today was the first day that drama rehearsal didn't make me want to die.
Oh, excellent. I don't even know if, oh, that's why you didn't leave till like 5 something today.
Yeah, I have rehearsal on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I have rehearsal till 4:30. So the earliest I leave school is 5.
See, in my head, you just have the same schedule as me when I'm in my office. I understand that that is very much not correct.
I was like, I work from 7 to 2:30, and you work from like 9 to 5.
Right. So I just assume you're going in around the time I'm going in.
Yep.
And then we leave at the same time. So when you're like, I'm on my way home, I was like, yeah, me too. Totes. We're doing the same. And then when you just said that, I was like, you don't leave at 5 normally. That is not a normal time of day for you.
No. It is not.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, actually, it is, but not usually because I'm working, usually because I'm just stuck there.
Right. But also, like, not like your scheduled time. Quote,
Oh,
unquote.
no. I am not paid to still be there at 5:30.
No. Which is a real bummer.
It is a real bummer. But you know what could potentially cheer me up?
What is that?
A message from the guru that is you, Courtney.
Well, just prepare yourself. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Alice Walker.
Heck yeah.
I know, right? Stumbled upon that and I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love a good Alice Walker quote. You know what else I love?
What?
Some days.
What? Some days. I'm guessing you're gonna say Stargate.
Well,
How
did you know?
Oh my god, I have no idea.
You're just so smart.
It's been the longest week ever, and it's only Monday. So
We also have not done any drugs or alcohol. Like,
no,
like,
I'm usually drinking while we're recording, and I'm not. I'm caffeinating myself.
I'm having tea.
So Stargate SG-1, Season 2, Episode 10, entitled Bane.
Which I thought it said, I cannot see to save my life. And I thought it said Bang was the title.
Oh, bang.
It really threw me for a loop. I still don't understand Bane, but
I don't necessarily understand Bane either, but I was watching this yesterday at Dan and Doug's apartment. And I told Doug what episode I was watching, and he goes, "Oh, I know what show that is," because he does. And then
just
David,
by the title,
yeah,
the non-related title,
yep. And
excellent.
then David, Dan's brother, came over, and Doug told him what episode I was watching, which David also recognized the episode. And then I was like, but to be fair, and Doug goes, to be fair, she's not just like watching it for fun. She is actually like working on it for her podcast. I go, yeah, I've been in the other room for 40 minutes and I've watched 7 minutes of the episode. and they were like, that makes sense. Checks out. And Doug goes, you could always invite me to be on your podcast. I go, I did. And you didn't. And he goes, I am never, ever doing anything on Monday nights. And you asked me to be on the one single Monday night I had planned.
Well, in 10 weeks, tell him to come back around.
That's when we finally finish season 2.
And he can jump right in.
Then you guys will finally meet the elusive Doug.
Is he that elusive?
No.
Is that a descriptor?
No. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh.
I don't know.
We'll ask him when he's on the podcast.
Yes. What you, sir, describe yourself as? He will say yes.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if it's true, but he'll say yes.
Anyone with a brain would say that.
Yeah. This episode was rated 7.1 stars, which is pretty okay.
To be fair, I thought this was a good episode, but because it came right after our Shari episode, I would have rated it lower than I would have had it just come after another random episode.
Okay. That's fair. It did come out right after the Shari episode, but it also didn't in that it came out a month later. Because remember last week.
Oh, that's right.
Last week we talked about the weird time gaps that existed in season 2. So it did come out on September 25th, 1998, which is over a month after the last one.
That is correct. I completely forgot that.
Because of that month gap, though, we have a new number 1 song.
Yeah, we do.
And now here's the thing. Yesterday, like I said, I watched this episode at my boyfriend's.
Mm-hmm.
And then, without prompting, he started singing said number 1 song to me, having no idea that I take notes about the number 1 song of the year, of the day with the episode. And I just looked at him and I go, what is wrong with you? He was like, what, you don't like that song? I go, no, I do. It's one of my favorite songs ever. Just don't know if you realize that I've already been doing research on that song today. He was like, no, I had, weird. The number 1 song in September of 1998 was, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith.
Yes. Oh, such a good one.
I was like, I'm a big Aerosmith girl.
I also love Aerosmith. And one time when I was at Rotary Club camp, it's called something different, I think, if you're a child. I was in high school. We each team was putting on a performance for the last show. Yeah. And we did the super typical prom scene that broke out into Thriller because we were called the Jackson 10. And so it was 3 couples, and it was I was in the couple part. We danced I Don't Want to Miss a Thing until we were attacked by monsters and werewolves, who then started dancing to Thriller. It was excellent. So that
is excellent. I just think about how many times I rode Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster over and over and over again, just because I'd be like, it's like my own private little mini Aerosmith concert every day.
It is. And I, as much as I don't like roller coasters because they make me sick, that one doesn't, because it's dark and I can't see anything. Because when I go up high, I get vertigo. I can't ride the Yeti guy because I get sick. I rode it one time, thought I was going to die.
It's my favorite.
I'm aware that it's all of y'all's favorite from 30303.
Yeah.
But
we're sassy Yetis.
Yes. I am not. I will be rocking out at my Aerosmith concert.
Fair.
So.
Fair. The number 1 movie has also changed.
Ooh.
Which, to be fair, the movie didn't stay the same for as
Yeah.
long. Well, it did early when Titanic was still. But the number one movie was Rush Hour, starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
You know, I saw one of those. I think this is the one I saw.
I mean, this is the first
Rush
one.
Hour 2.
I was gonna say, for some reason I feel like it's probably Rush Hour 2 because that one is like on TV randomly all the time.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
that's the one I feel like I saw. Maybe I
Okay.
saw both. No, it's been
I don't
ages.
know. And like we guessed, and by guessed I mean talked about and predicted last week, the number one book was in fact Rainbow Six by Tom Clancy, because that will probably be there for the rest of the year. I could not find a single thing about any major events that happened that day. It was my
Tuesday?
6.5. It was September 25th, 1998. It was my 6.5 birthday.
I was almost 6.
Yeah. But yeah, nothing. I have no events.
Oh, I think that's the year I started kindergarten.
Oh no, 6. I would have been in first grade.
I think I started in 98. Yeah.
I know. Well, my birthday is in March. It's the end of the year.
But
So
you were a year before me.
Yeah, I'm a year before you. So I would have been 98, 99 would have been my first grade year. So you would have
So this was like my first day of kindergarten. Probably.
that late in September?
I don't know.
I was gonna say we start school like the day after Labor Day.
I think we start school in the middle of August.
I would say most places in the South start it in the middle of August.
But we'll just pretend.
Okay, perfect. The director was David Wary Smith. The writer was Robert C. Cooper. So nothing new there. Our guest star that we're going to talk about is probably not who you think I'm going to talk about, because I realized halfway through that I probably should have talked about the little girl who played Allie.
Yes, you absolutely should.
But I didn't. Because
Fine.
I talked about a character who this was not their first appearance, but I didn't talk about them last time they were on.
Did you talk about Mayburn?
I did talk about Colonel Mayburn. But here's the reason. It's also kind of a pretty big deal. So Colonel Mayburn is played by an actor named Tom McBeath. He is known,
Macbeth, but McBeath.
Yes, McBeath. He is known for the movie Aliens vs. Predators Requiem. He played a recurring character called Smithers on Riverdale, which I think is a big deal, but I don't know. I never watched Riverdale. But he was in season 3, episode 5 of Bates Motel.
We watched that recently.
We sure did. He played a character named Stanley. The problem is I can't figure out who the shit Stanley was. I went back and looked at it. My only thought is that it's one of Bob Paris's people who attacked James.
Let me see if let's see if I can crack the code for you.
I looked it up on IMDb and I found nothing. But I didn't look at like a Bates wiki because I didn't want to see any spoilers.
That's very fair. I've just given up. I just assume I'm going to have everything spoiled before the end of time.
Yes, but that's not all.
Oh, please tell me more.
There's another connection to this podcast for this man.
Ooh.
Because he was in an episode where he was part of our trivia. Because he was in an episode where he was also starring with Peter Williams and Terrell Rothery, who played Apophis and Dr. Frasier.
Right.
When he played Father Matthias, the priest who Daisy brought back to faith before he died in Dead Like Me.
I love it.
And that was, remember how much we loved her conversation with him about faith and how before she started wearing the cross and everything?
Is that who?
Yes, it is.
He plays the fisherman guy
The
who told
fisherman.
Romero what happened with the girl that was in the water.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm glad we could connect those dots.
Thank you. Yes, but yeah, the priest episode was one of our favorites.
It was one of the best, for sure.
He was the priest that we loved Jaycee's interactions with. So that's why I wanted to talk about him, because it is all of the circles.
That is totally fair. So he plays a super good guy that we love, a guy that we're like, you've done some bad things, but you're not a bad person.
And then
he plays this guy.
This guy.
I have very strong feelings about. None of them are nice.
No. And they weren't nice the first time he was on the show either.
No, they're just worse now.
Because he was a much smaller role the first time, so we didn't get to hate him as much. But
I'm ready for that.
Yeah. So I started taking notes the way I take notes for Bates Motel, and I write, "Ooh, nice futuristic city," and then I go, "Ma'am, you have to take notes differently when you are leading the discussion."
I also did that for the finale episode of Bates, and I was like, wait, what happened? Write down what happened.
Right. I literally had to go back and add a paragraph because I was like, I literally started taking notes as if I don't have to tell you guys what happened in the episode.
What is with us this week?
I don't know. So weird. Because it literally, my notes say, nice futuristic city. Ew, that's the most disgusting poop pile ever. And I was like, none of that tells you the plot. It's just thoughts.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's correct.
So basically, the SG team is walking through this beautiful futuristic city. And the city's like a ghost town, but it doesn't seem like the Goa'uld have had anything to do with it because all the tech is still there.
It made me think of that city in Doctor Who when like the robots with the upside down smiles or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what it made me think of.
See, it made me think of a city in Doctor Who, but not that one. It made me think of the one where the cats were the nurses at the hospital.
So I have to tell you, moving forward, when Rachel listens to this like 500 years, she'll be like, why are you talking about me? But literally, so me and Caitlin used to binge watch Doctor Who all the time at the apartment we lived together. And Rachel would come over and we'd have like our like party nights, which meant we just stayed inside and drank with each other and didn't talk to other people.
Yeah.
And so we'd all been drinking and we were watching Doctor Who. And we like had an idea what's going on. And the next morning, Rachel wakes up and she's like, I don't know anything about Doctor Who, except for I think there were cats that were talking to people and maybe they were nurses. And that's all she tells people about Doctor Who now. And it is the funniest thing. That is the only, because it's the only like episode she saw.
Yeah.
And that was her only form of reference was after she was drinking.
Because they went to New York. Yeah.
She had a rough time.
Yeah. I am obsessed.
Show for me. I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't even know what you watched.
Right. The nurse cats were wonderful characters. So Absolutely. Far beyond what that plot of that episode is like. They were so superfluous to the plot.
Absolutely.
Oh well, no, except for the one who was running the hospital, but that's different.
Of course.
Yeah. So then they're walking around and they step in this gigantic, nasty looking it looked like vomit, but was probably like bird poop kind of thing. Gross pile. And they were trying to figure out what on earth is happening, what on not earth is happening. And the nastiest bug quite literally ever.
They have murder hornets.
Honestly, murder hornets look like cuddle toys compared to this thing.
Truly. I do call them murder hornets the entire episode though. So
okay, perfect.
Just so you know.
I think I called them bugs until I changed my mind and started calling them aliens. Also, I forgot that we had learned Allie's name earlier in the episode, so most of my notes say the girl, and then suddenly I just called her Allie.
Well, that's fine.
So this gigantic, nasty bug, which also reminded me of Doctor Who because I thought of the spider on Donna's back.
Oh, yes. Oh, I hate that so much. Oh, yes. Correct.
Yeah, it was a
I actually really liked that episode, but I really hated that bug.
Yeah.
Ugh.
A weird episode of Stargate today.
Yeah.
Um, well, no, I mean in general, but also like super weird for us in the last couple minutes, just because we're like, oh, look at all these connections to other sci-fi shows, but then also like,
Everything else we've ever watched in our lives.
yeah. Um, so the bug is on his back, and Jack tries to shoot it, and it stings Teal'c, and then flies away. But it flies away only to bring back an entire swarm
Yep.
of bugs.
Yep.
And here's the thing. They start to run through the gate. I thought surely this will be where the credits are.
Right.
But it was not.
It wasn't, no.
And then they get through the gate, and they're like screaming to close the iris. And they close the iris behind them, and then all of the bugs are like hitting the iris like when you accidentally drive through like a mosquito patch in a field, and they're just like bouncing off your car windshield.
Yeah.
And Hammond is
That's
like,
the
what?
perfect description.
And Hammond is like, what is that? And Jack just goes, bugs. Really, really big bugs.
Really big, ugly bugs.
Yeah. And I thought, well, surely this will be where the credits go.
No.
But it was not. So then we see Teal'c in the med bay. And despite the Goa'uld, his infection seems to be getting worse. Like real bad. And then Dr. Fraser points out that this should not be happening because of the Goa'uld. And Teal'c's basically like, yeah, you're right, but here we are. And that is where the credits happen. Because truthfully, as bad as the bugs are not the issue. Teal'c dying is the real crux of the episode.
Yeah, that's
so I was like,
not great. He's dying.
Once I saw that, I go, fair enough. Cool.
You just set us up to knock us down. It's cool.
Yeah, pretty long cold open, not gonna lie. But they really needed to get that Teal'c is dying part in before the credits.
Right. Yes, totally fair. I thought I had like just missed the credits by the time we got to them. And I was like, oh no, there they are. There they are.
They're there. So then when we come back, Janet is filling people in, and she says that Teal'c has a viral infection, but that there's a ton of DNA showing up in his blood sample that does not belong to him.
So Teal'c could totally commit a crime right now and get away with it.
Well, not based on fingerprints, but based on other DNA. Yeah.
Like blood.
Yeah.
It probably.
Probably, yeah. Sorry. I'm actually taking notes about what I'm naming the episodes as we're going. So that I can think of it. My fluffy
oh, I love it.
It makes me feel like Elle Woods when I take notes with it.
You do look just like Elle Woods. Spot on.
Yeah. But Janet says that the problem is that she doesn't know what to do. Because I mean, to be fair, what would you do?
Right. I mean, how are you to know? This has never happened before. It's an alien species. It's
an alien species being with a viral infection from another alien species that is that isn't being fought off by a third alien. Like, what is one to do in this case?
I don't know, but it's very sci-fi and I love it.
So Sam is like, well, there's this geneticist that I worked with in the Pentagon, and because I worked with him on the project in the Pentagon, he actually has high enough clearance that we could bring him here. So seems like that's a good solution.
Yeah.
But is it
just ever, like absolutely end of the day he'll be here.
Yeah. And is the government stepping in that quickly ever really the solution?
No, not at all.
So then Dr. Timothy Harlow arrives, and unfortunately, they run the blood sample again. At first I thought it was a second blood sample, but no. Nay, I say.
Okay, Bailey Sarian.
It is the same blood sample. And it no longer has any of Teal'c's DNA in it.
Yep.
Um,
That's
and
super normal.
yeah, super normal. And the SG team is still just like, I don't understand. Like the Goa'uld should be like stopping it. And they're like, how? It's literally rewriting his DNA. Like, what? Protect him from what?
Right.
Um, so we're a little stuck because the Goa'uld is doing nothing to stop it. So like, what do we do?
Mhm.
Um, and Dr. Harlow's like, I'm gonna try to figure it out, but like I have 30 years of practice working with human genomes. And until last year, I didn't know aliens were real. So,
Yeah, that kind of puts a damper on things. So,
yeah. But we go to Teal'c, who is looking very not
bless
good.
his heart.
And he tells Jack that he's like in more pain than he's ever been in, and that he's also very scared. And
That's
like,
so sad.
it's so sad. But like after everything he's seen like happen to people who are taken over by Goa'uld and everything that he knows that he's capable of, having worked with them, he's like, the one thing I don't want ever is to be something or someone other than myself. So
Yeah,
like if it gets to the point where there is no hope, just kill me.
right.
Promise me you'll do that.
Which is totally fair, but also
It's
feels
totally
bad.
fair. It's also awful, yeah.
No.
Um, so Hammond calls Jack into his office. And who is in his office but our least favorite human, Colonel Mayborn? Do we hate Colonel Mayborn more than we hate Senator Kinsey?
No, not yet.
Not yet. I mean, those are two pretty big douchebags, though.
No, I still hate Kenzie more right now.
I don't know. It might be a tie for me at the moment.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll see him again.
Yeah. Um. So Mayborn has an official order having to do with Teal. They don't actually like talk about what the order is. They just talk about how it's not good. So I was a little confused. And Jack's like, "Do we really have to do this? Call the where's the red phone?" And Hammond's like, "The president is currently unavailable. So for the moment, we're gonna have to follow these orders."
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing. General Hammond outranks Colonel Mayborn. I don't know why he
Right.
can't just tell him to fuck off.
Because I think he brought orders from above.
Probably.
And so he couldn't tell him that. But Jack, however, does say I request permission to beat the hell out of him.
Yeah. No. No. He's just said. He said, "Permission requested to beat the crap out of this man." And I was like, and then they like paused awkwardly long enough with Mayborn looking scared that I really thought General Hammond was going to be like, "Fucking go for it."
I know.
Just
I
do
was
it.
like, what's about to happen?
Um.
Drama.
But then speaking of drama, we find out that Dr. Harlow is the one who called Mayborn in.
Such a sellout. Ugh. I was so mad at him.
And he
I just
tells
knew he was going to be the one punched in the face this episode.
Sam that he doesn't trust Mayborn, but Teal'c's only hope is him, and the SGC is not the right kind of like a facility. He needs to get him to Washington to be able to help him.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah. Nice speech, buddy. Don't know if I trust you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was feeling pretty skeptical about him at this moment.
And then, so they go to move Teal'c, and Janet is like, absolutely not. He is not well enough to move. And Colonel Mayborn just goes, well, good thing I've got a second opinion.
Oh my gosh, I was ready to just start tearing his arms out. I
I
was so mad.
apologize for how sassy I am right now, but I fucking hate Colonel Mayborn.
Whew. I was
and
livid.
I hate traitors.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So Harlow is giving the okay to move Teal'c, even though then we're not there yet. But then Harlow's like, he doesn't have much longer. So why are you moving him also, why are you moving him from the Cheyenne Mountains to Washington in a fucking van?
Right. Right. You're like, ugh, Jesus Christ. It's just bad decisions all around.
So, Sam is very torn because like none of them trust Mayborn at all. But like she does also recognize that Harlow actually could be the best hope for Teal'c. So like everybody's just like having feelings.
Including me.
Yeah. And then Mayborn makes Teal'c leave in chains.
I was like, are you kidding me? And then the amount of times I put I hate Mayborn on my paper.
Yeah.
So many.
So Mayborn, and obviously like the rest of the team is just standing there because they don't know what to do with, but they can't fight back. Like it's awful. And they're all like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah.
But then we're in this passenger van because that's the fucking choice that we made. And Harlow's like, listen, we don't have a lot of time, but like I've got some medicine that'll like sedate him, like keep him till we get him. And Mayborn's like, don't do it.
I was like, excuse me?
Mayborn wanted Teal to change so that they could like label him as dangerous because Mayborn is a garbage fire of a human.
Yes. And then they wanted to be able to study him for their own gain and not use him as a soldier like he has been.
Back at SGC, Sam is trying to convince Jack and Daniel that they have to go back to the planet and get information from these bugs when Hammond says that they have an emergency communication from the driver of the getaway van. Whatever kind of van. I called it a getaway van like they're committing a crime because honestly they are. It's a crime against humanity.
It is, yes. I didn't even think twice when you called it a getaway van.
I was like, I don't think that's the correct term. So in the craziness that happened when Teal'c changed into whatever this thing is that he changed into, mutant Teal'c pulls his Goa'uld out and leaves it in the truck and runs off into the woods.
Yeah, I said, sir, I do not think you're supposed to pull your Goa'uld out.
All I could think was how disgusted you must have been with the unnecessary number of close-ups of the removed Goa'uld.
You are absolutely correct.
And then, while I was watching this at one point, Dan came to check on me and I just go, hey, you want to see something really gross?
Oh, no.
Because I had it paused right on just a full screen of the snake. Ugh,
you're terrible. You're a terrible person. Ugh.
I love it.
Poor Dan. Has he seen Stargate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Beetlejuice sandworms, but like with more of a like
grotesqueness,
weird like penile feeling.
They're just terrible. Like I think of the sandworms and Beetlejuice kind of as like Grub from like Lion King.
Yeah.
Like Bug's Life.
Right.
And, like they're not as gross. They're just like what they are.
If you mixed like the Beetlejuice sandworms and like decapitated fingers and like a penis, that is the vibe I get from the Goa'uld.
That is the worst description of anything I've ever. Not that it's inaccurate, I guess, but like I never want to think about that combination ever again. Ever in my whole life.
It's not wrong, right?
I don't think so, but ugh. It's really bad.
Ugh, and chicken sausage. Chicken sausage. Is the like weird texture.
Ugh. I have to quit this show. I'm sorry. I just can't be a part of this anymore.
Anyway. Where were we?
Quitting the show. That's where we were. Last I checked.
Oh God, guys. I wish you understood my mental state at all right now.
I wish I understood your mental state at all right now, because I sure don't. And I usually can at least figure it out.
Um,
But it's
I am over caffeinated, overtired, and over emotional, and I'm taking it out
on
on
me. On me
well,
directly. Because I'm being very attacked right now. And I don't appreciate it. I don't ever want to talk about goals ever again. Unless they're inside the human. Keep them
we still
inside.
have good thing we still have 8.5 seasons of this show.
Wow. They better stay inside their humans. That's all I gotta say. Ugh. Ugh.
So SG1 comes to the truck and finds the driver and Harlow alive but unconscious, and then they also find the Goa'uld laying there, and they're like,
Nope.
no.
This is bad.
So Mayborn and his men go back to base to get checked out, and he says that he wants every man on base out looking for Teal'c. And Jack says, "Oh yeah, they will be, but they report to me."
Oh.
And they get into like a little mini tiff, and he goes, hitting me is going to be a surefire way to get court-martialed. And he goes, "I'm not going to hit you. I'm going to shoot you." And I was like, I agree.
He's like, I'm responsible for this. And he's like, oh, I'm holding you responsible. Yeah. He's like, don't you worry.
I was like, I agree, but also like,
maybe calm
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit. So then Jack and Daniel ask Harlow, they're like, okay, now that asshole's out of the room, what happened? And he says, like, he tells what we already know, that like something just came over him and then he knocked them all out, and that he didn't take the larva out until after they were knocked out, so he wasn't 100% sure, but that his guess is that the Goa'uld larva probably held him back from completing the transformation because it was fighting the virus in what little way it could. So now that more of the mutant was in charge of Teal'c's brain, he ripped it out in order to like die, basically.
Right.
Janet and Sam are making a larva incubator with trying to recreate the fluid contents of the stomach, the pouch sac.
Which like is good so we can save Teal'c, but is bad because it's bad.
Also, the fluid of the stomach pouch sac is a phrase I don't ever want to say again.
First of all, you came up with it. It was not said in the episode.
Not in that condensed number of words.
Right.
It was, but just like not
quite that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I did also describe the Goa'uld in a way that
you're taking a lot of concessions this episode, and I don't appreciate it.
They have to keep the Goa'uld alive until they can save Teal'c.
Mm-hmm.
And then Teal'c radios SGC and tells them to make sure that Mayborn doesn't follow him. And they're like, okay, but like, where are you? And he's like, deuces, and just drops the radio and leaves. Yep. Harlow tells Sam and Janet that there is still hope, but they need one of the insects. And Hammond's like,
intensely not intense episode, I guess.
Yeah, like it didn't feel high stakes, except for that like everything actually was like really high stakes.
Right. Like it would happen, I'd be like, oh, that's a lot of pressure. And then it'd be over, and I'd be like, okay. Like
so Hammond's like, I don't really trust Harlow. I I don't know if he's still like plotting for Mayborn and he like just
Right.
hopes that you all are gonna like have something happen. But like at this point, I literally don't know if there's any other choice. And so Jack and Daniel are like, okay, like we're gonna go. We
Mhm.
got this. And Sam tells Jack and Daniel the good news and the bad news. That there are your choices. We can save Teal'c. We have to do it by going back there.
Murder hornets.
The murder hornets. Um, and then we got what is quite honestly the strangest scene in Stargate so far in 2 seasons, where Teal'c is just like wandering through a city.
This was the weirdest scene. I was sitting there and I just like stopped everything. I was like, what is going on right now?
And there's a group of ruffians, which is actually what I wrote in my notes.
Which is
Like,
the only proper way to address this weird
Yes.
scene.
So
May as
a
well make
group-
it weirder.
So a group of ruffians come up to Teal'c and they're like, hey, you, like, who are you? And they're like starting shit with them. And Teal'c's just like, get out of my way. And they're like, that's a pretty cool tattoo you have on your forehead. Where did it come from? And Teal'c's like, Teal'c. They're like, who the fuck is Teal'c? And he's like, not here. And they're like, how did you get it? Like, how do they do that? And then Teal'c tells us the actual real process of the tattoo, which
It was very
they're,
painful.
I mean, he's like, they carve into your forehead with a knife and then pour molten gold into the wound. And
Yeah.
the little gang leader of the ruffians is like, that sounds like it hurts. And Teal'c chokes him the fuck out and then just goes tremendously.
I was like, how have they not been scared of him before? Now, like, I get they're in a rough neighborhood, and so they're like probably used to being a bit rough. But also, like, when you grow up in a rough neighborhood, you like recognize when you need to step down. Like,
This man did not. This man did not know to step down.
child. He wasn't even a man. He was a child.
No, he was, and that's why he didn't know to step down.
He was very full of himself.
And then the smallest child of the group,
My favorite.
little Allie, just goes,
Well, ow.
She goes, he's cool.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, we might not have the same definition of cool. I mean, I think
very cool.
I think Teal'c's very cool, but were I to be sitting there with my friends and they got choked out by a guy who just said that he had molten gold poured in his forehead, I don't know that cool would be my response.
I can't confirm or deny what I would think because I don't know at this point.
What? Jack and Daniel go back to the bug planet. Okay. I couldn't figure out what the shit the next note said. But then they've been gone for a while, and Janet's like, how long have they been gone? And Hammond's like, long enough that I'm about to send SG3 after them. And she's like, well, yeah, because I'd like them to get back because the Goa'uld fucking dying.
Right.
So, nothing's going correctly.
Again, high stakes.
Yeah. And then Teal'c finds an old abandoned building to die in, or like to hide in, while he's like basically just like fucking dying. It was really depressing.
Yeah, now he's got lesions. It's just
Then we go back to SGC, and SG1 returns and a bug flies in them after them. And then they have like this really intense scene of like chasing the bug around for no reason. Like, to be honest, I did not find that scene necessary. Like,
it wasn't. I agree.
Like, everything felt so high stakes, and then they had like chased the bug around the room, and I was like,
it felt like almost like when you watch like Flubber.
Yeah.
And it's like shooting around the room, It's
like it took away from the stakes a little bit of the episode.
I agree.
And I didn't love it. There were other things that like took away from the stakes in a good way. This was not one.
No.
So then it turns out that Mayborn has all police, like state and local, and everybody out looking for Teal'c. But while they were on the bug planet getting this new bug sample, they also found all of the human inhabitants of the planet like cocoonified and mummified in dark corners and then bursting into multiple bugs.
But it's so gross. But I also have a question now.
Yes.
So, are these murder hornets like an alternative alien species to the Goa'uld? Like the Goa'uld clear their planets up and they inhabit them with people, and then they take over the people and make them Jaffa or slaves or whatever. And now these murder hornets have these people that they take over and create more murder hornets. Is it like a similar concept between the two?
No,
Okay.
but only because the Goa'uld have
More sentient?
no, higher intelligence. The Goa'uld are planning things. These bugs are just like stinging shit and birthing. Like they're basically like any other like bug that just like massively repopulates without like thought.
Right. Gotcha.
So that it is what's happening, but it's not the same.
Got it. Yes.
So they have to go into dark places to complete the metamorphosis, like they're making cocoons and everything. But it turns out because of the difference in mass, there's a mass differential, and when they sting a human and the human's DNA changes, the human's mass doesn't just deteriorate, and so equal to the human's mass is how many bugs are created.
Right.
Which is disgusting.
Yes, very gross.
And so when Teal'c does finish his transformation, he will turn into not just one murder hornet, but a shit ton of murder hornets.
A bazillion of them. Yes.
So then, my note says the girl who thought Teal'c was cool, because I did not remember that her name was Allie, finds him in the abandoned building and shoots him with a water gun, and then like tells him that he should still be in rehab.
Right.
And they just
has had a rough life.
They just have like a really like sweet scene, and I didn't write a lot about their dialogue, but I just was like kind of obsessed.
I loved it.
And then she shares a chocolate bar with him
because he tells her that he needs to eat, and she's like, "Oh no, do you need my candy bar?" And she's like, "Here, we'll share." And he's like just eating, and she's like, "Okay." He was like, "Can you get more?" And she's like, "Well, what's in it for me?" And he says, "Peanuts and caramel." She's like, "No."
Yeah, she's like, her responses to his like inability to communicate in normal human fashion are some of my favorite.
Yes.
So then we get a really disgusting scene of Daniel having to like help be the resident for the bug surgery kind of thing, and he's like opening the bug flap and he is disgusted, and Sam comes in and tells the bad news that she did some projection mapping, and if Teal'c does in fact complete the metamorphosis within 6 to 8 weeks, there will be millions with an M, not a B. Millions.
A lot though, still quite a few.
Quite a few bugs.
Too many.
Then we go back to the abandoned building, and Allie has brought Teal'c more candy, and told him that the cops are looking for him.
And she starts giving him like Godfather references. I was like, who is this child?
Yeah, she goes, "Are you a Kimball?" And he was like, "A what?" She goes, "What planet are you from?" "It's the fugitive, Dr. Richard Kimball." And I was like, "Ma'am, that is the most 90s reference." Like, a lot of things about the show, other than, of course, the technology itself, aged pretty well. That did not.
It was so funny. It was so funny.
But do love the fugitive.
Yeah, and I love her.
Yeah. So then we go back to SGC, where the president has finally called back to overrule
like he's doing
orders. Right. Fuck that guy. He overrules Mayborn's orders, and now everyone can finally head out to look for Teal'c.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. Allie is helping him find a place to hide in the building because she is a gem.
Yes.
When Mayborn and a fucking SWAT team arrive to the abandoned building.
Yeah, I'm done with them. They're too much.
Yeah. Then we get a flashback to SGC where Harlow has figured out which drug will help Teal'c, but it would only work in combination with his Goa'uld, who is, fun fact, currently dying.
Yes. Not doing great.
No. Not doing fantastic. Unfortunately, we have a lot of flashing back and forth in this little bit because, where the stakes are high, and so we have to go this guy, no this guy, no this guy, and just keep climbing the stakes. So the SWAT team finds Allie. Now, I forgot some important dialogue because I didn't really talk a lot about the dialogue with Allie just because she was perfect. But Allie told Teal'c that her dad was a cop and that her dad always told her that you could smell if somebody was a good guy or a bad guy. And that's why she was helping Teal'c, was because even though he seemed like he was probably a druggie, she just knew he was a good guy. She would smell it on him. So the SWAT team catches Allie, and Mayborn's like, "Can you help me?" And she's like, "Nope." And he's like, "Why?" And
He's
she
like,
just
"We're
goes,
government, the good guys." She says, "Yeah, right."
Right. And he's like, "Why won't you talk to me?" She goes, "Because I don't like the way you smell." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, Allie.
You tell it,
Allie." But which is basically her way of saying that he's not a good guy, not that he smells bad, but I do also want to think that he smells bad.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So then Jack comes in to see Janet and Sam, and they're like, "We don't know what to do. The Goa'uld is dying, and none of my Jolinar memories are coming out." And Jack just goes, "Man, it's a shame you can't just defib that guy like they do on the doctor shows."
I know. Everybody's like, "What?"
And they're like, it couldn't be that easy, could it? And they're like, "Well, human beings have an electrical pulse going through them all of the time, and that's the one thing that this fluid doesn't have. And then if you think about the sarcophagus and all the healing stuff, of course it needs electricity."
And Jack's like, "I have no idea what they're saying now."
Yeah.
I picked out a TV reference and now I'm done.
Yeah. But you win. Which he of course then brags that he saved the day, because of course he does. So then after getting away from the horrible SWAT team, Allie runs back in to check on Teal'c, and she finds him hella spiderweb mummified. And she's like, "I'm gonna call the cops." And he's like, "No, don't do that."
And she's like, "No, the good ones."
She's like, "Well, tell me what to do then." So then she goes out to a payphone, which this is the best. Fun fact, the electricity does save the Goa'uld. And then the phone rings. And it's for Colonel O'Neill. And Allie is standing at a payphone. And she's like, "Is this Colonel Jack O'Neill?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh my God, I've had to talk to 12 people. It's about time I got a hold of you."
She is so offended that he has not come to the phone yet. She is just put out.
She has which is so funny because she clearly has no idea how secret of a government facility she is on the phone with right now.
Right.
So they come and find Teal'c and they rescue him, and Allie's like, "Can I go with you?" And they're like, "No, you really just cannot." And she goes, "Okay, well, can you tell Teal'c he still owes me one?"
Oh. And Daniel's like, "Sure, of course I can."
So then we get back to SGC. They are working on Teal'c. They're going to save him. He's going to survive. Everything's going to be great. And we find out that Mayborn has ordered all research about these bugs to be sent to Area 51. And Timothy Harlow just goes, "No." And they were like, why? And he goes, well, because after Teal'c is healed, there will be a mysterious lab accident.
And I just put, okay, I'm cool with this guy now.
Yeah.
We're okay again.
Because he realizes how shitty Mayborn is. Like he did what he thought was the right thing, but then he sees how like everything went down and was like, that was not the right thing.
Right. No.
So then we go back to the abandoned building where Allie is mimicking the SWAT team, walking through the building, practicing her cop moves, when all of a sudden we see Teal'c. And because Teal'c owed her one, he bought her a new water gun.
One with increased range and firepower.
And
exactly what child needs.
Yes, and then she shot him and was like, come play with me. And Daniel goes, maybe I shouldn't have given it to her loaded. And then Teal'c just goes, then how will she defend herself? And shoots Daniel with his own gigantic water gun and then runs after her to play. Teal'c is like dad of the year.
It was so precious.
It was the best ending. I literally ended with the biggest smile on my face. I was like,
yeah. I love Teal'c, and now I want him to adopt her and keep her forever.
I know. He won't, but
I know, but
mostly because he can't, because what would she do?
Truly.
Like Sam couldn't keep Cassandra, and is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so sad. So that is the end of the episode. And I have a lot of trivia.
Ooh.
I know you're very desperately waiting for me to ask you who you want to punch.
I am.
But I'm not.
I can wait.
Not quite there yet.
It's fine. I can wait.
Because I do, in fact, have trivia, kind of, sort of.
I like how you're like, I have a ton of trivia. Maybe.
Well, I do. I have a ton of trivia, but now like the app just decided it wasn't loading anything, and I was like, ma'am, I had everything like primed and ready, but then my phone went crazy with like messages, and so then it was not ready, and then now it's just, in fact, not doing anything I want it to, because why would it?
Excellent.
Okay. Almost there. Trivia. I can't tell that one.
Ooh, secret.
There's a spoiler for much later in the series, but the water gun that Teal'c shoots Daniel with was originally supposed to be empty, but was filled without Michael Shanks not knowing until he was actually squirted. He literally didn't know he was going to get squirted.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
It makes me so happy.
I love that.
The location for the alien ghost town was the Plaza of Nations Entertainment Complex built for Expo 86. This location would also be used in season 4 in 2000. In a season 4 episode but the structure was originally intended to be temporary and was declared unsafe in 2006, and demolition began the next year. So it does not exist anymore.
So not in Doctor Who then?
No, unfortunately. In the 1986 MacGyver episode Nightmare, Richard Dean Anderson is on his own, disabled, soon to die unless he can get a cure, pursued by his enemies and helped by a young girl who stashes him in an abandoned building.
Can you say that one more time? I'm so sorry. I zoned out when I was thinking about Doctor Who. And
so there's a MacGyver episode where MacGyver is dying and a young girl stashes him in an abandoned building until he can get a cure, and it's like the same plot but not alien. That one is a spoiler for something else. No, but then this one, it's because this one is labeled as a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler. So when SG-1 passes through the gate at the beginning of the episode, Sam says they may have a bit of a pigeon problem. But then when Teal'c hides himself in the abandoned building, I don't know if you noticed, if you were listening with headphones in, because you couldn't see them, but you could hear them so much that I kept checking my headphones to see if I was losing my mind. But there were like the entire background sound of all of the abandoned building scenes was just pigeons cooing.
I did not even notice that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I go, is that in the headphones or are there like a shit ton of birds outside my window right now? And I was like, pigeons don't usually sound like that this late at night
Am I
though.
being
But like,
swarmed right now?
and I was like, I haven't heard a pigeon like a pigeon in Buffalo like ever. So then I literally stopped it and took the headphones off, and I was like, nope, that's for sure in the episode. But then I was listening to it, but I was like, but there's no birds there. No, the background track was just fucking pigeons. But so now that I've gotten some of that fun trivia out of the way, mostly the only really fun one was that Michael Shanks didn't know he was going to get shot with a water gun, which I love that. Who do you want to punch?
Mayborn. 5,000 times.
Because you chose Mayborn, and I can't choose him, and he really truly was the only one who deserved to get punched.
I think that's fair.
I think I would like to punch the president for not being available when we needed him to be available.
Totally fair. Great choice.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a red flag for a reason.
Right. When General Hammond of Texas calls you, you answer the phone.
Yes, of course.
Who is your MVP?
Teal'c.
Really? That's not who I thought you were going to pick.
You think I was going to pick Allie?
I did think you were going to pick Allie.
I picked Teal'c.
Which then it makes it easy because then I get to pick Allie and then it's great.
Yes.
Fantastic. I love
I just
that.
love him so much this episode.
I love Teal'c. I think I told you that Teal'c's my favorite character. Like in the first episode we did
before we started.
Before we even started, I was like, I love Teal'c.
Yes.
I love him.
The best.
So good. That is it's weird because it's a great episode, but you're right, the placement in the season made it not necessarily the best.
Because we were so hyped.
We were so hyped. And I won't tell you what, but the next episode is a big one.
Ooh.
In fact, it's a two-parter.
Exciting.
I don't want to because it'll be a long episode, but I like almost want to just do the two-parter as one episode. We won't. I mean, it might like knock a week off the 10 years it's going to take us to watch Stargate.
Yes. You could think it over. We'll contemplate.
I mean, well, we'll talk about it not on the podcast, even though we like to do all of our like planning on how we're doing this podcast.
The last minute on each.
The last minute on the episode. Which also, speaking of, we did decide that when we finish season 2, we are going to pause and go back and do Origins, and then go to season 3. And by go back, I mean Origins definitely came out way later, but it is chronologically
before.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So. Although I still have to then figure out how to see Origins because it's a web series, so I'm not sure where it is located on the internet.
Well, let me give you a little quick Google and see if I can give you a.
We will do the little quick Google not on the podcast.
I'm doing it right now.
We're not going to keep planning on the podcast.
Look, I don't have an answer anyways because it won't tell me. But it's
okay, great.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about Bruno or anything off the podcast.
Yeah.
Basically, Courtney and I don't communicate until we're on the podcast, and then you guys hear everything, which is not actually true at all. But
0% accurate. But it sure sounds that way, though.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have thoughts about whether we should put the two-parter together as one episode or not, or where to find Stargate Origins, or really anything else, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will see you guys on Thursday for the season 3 finale
And
of Bates Motel.
an announcement for what our movie will be in between seasons.
Our in-betweener movie announcement. Woo-woo. All right, we will see you guys then.
Yeah.
Bye.